हेलो डियर कैडेट्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। आई होप आप लोग सेफ एंड साउंड होंगे अपनी जगह। लॉकडाउन के रूल्स मान रहे होंगे। आई एम ऑल्सो हियर फिट एंड फाइन, गुड। We have started a group classroom in Google, and have posted a lot of data and material over there related to blade element theory and axial momentum theory with rotation, without rotation. And a lot of you have been asking very good questions and solving problems, numericals, and it's very nice. And but I am also getting a feedback that many of you are not able to get the gist about it. So I thought let's make a video जिससे आप लोग को ज़्यादा अच्छे से क्लियर होगा। वो समझने से पहले आपको प्रोपेलर ज्योमेट्री को बहुत अच्छे से समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है। इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट that each and every aspect of the propeller blade should be totally clear, because that is the pillar for understanding the further concepts of the propeller and propeller theories and so on so forth. So एक वीडियो मैंने ये बनाया है, आई होप आप लोग इसको देखेंगे and you will able to understand and will gain better understanding about it. And still, if you have doubt, I am always available on telephone, WhatsApp, email, Google Classroom, whatever suits you. So, and I'm not very good with making videos in this format. So please bear with me if any glitches here and there. So I have made a small, just a basic model to make you understand about the propeller basics. Okay, let us assume this is a shaft, propeller shaft, and this is the shaft which is eventually getting connected with the main engine, and from there the shaft is driven and propeller blades are mounted on it. So these are propeller blades which I am mounting on it. So I have mounted these propeller blades on the propeller shaft. The top of the propeller is called the propeller tip, and the point at which the propeller blade is connected with the boss or the shaft is called the propeller root tip and the root. Then we have to define the edges as well. This propeller is a right-handed propeller. In our regular class, I have explained you how can we define a right-hand propeller or a left-hand propeller. And even by the looking at the propeller, you can very well make it out that propeller, which direction propeller should turn in order to make thrust forward or in the up direction. So by looking at this one, this propeller is moving in the clockwise direction and moving forward. From your angle, you are looking from the stern to the forward direction. Okay. So the edge of the propeller, which is leading the entire propeller blade into the water, is called the leading edge, and the edge of the propeller, which is away from the leading edge, is called the trailing edge. So when moving here, when moving in the forward direction, this will be called the leading edge, and this will be called the trailing edge. Then comes to define the faces of the propeller. See, this propeller is moving in the forward direction, so it is taking water just in front of the propeller blades and throwing it aft. So it is creating a area of suction in the forward part of the propeller and a pressurized area in aft of the propeller. So this phase will be called the suction phase, and this phase will be called the pressure phase. Okay, so again, tip, root, leading edge, trailing edge, suction phase, and the pressure phase. Okay, and let us talk about the pitch of the propeller. The pitch is the amount of distance the propeller moves ahead or astern when propeller completes is one single revolution. It is just similar like a screw. Whenever you turn a screw, it goes inside. After one revolution, it goes some particular distance inside, so that distance is called pitch. So ideally the ship should have moved the some distance when the propeller turns one complete revolution. It doesn't happen, so that we have already discussed when we were talking about the wake, the Taylor's wake fraction and the Froude wake fraction. We'll go, if you have doubt, we'll discuss more about it. So this pitch is the amount of distance the propeller, I'm sorry, amount of distance this has traveled forward. Okay. So in order to define it further, we have to understand what is the nature of the, or the locus of the point in the propeller when it is moving forward. So if you identify any point, let's say X, I have marked over here. So when this point X is going forward, and if we trace it on a cylindrical section, so this will this section, and if we cut that section and make it into a plain paper, we'll find that it's a straight line, and that straight line will have some angle tan theta. I will just explain you over here. Okay, so I have taken a plain paper over here, and this locus can be drawn for any blade element of the propeller. I am just drawing the, it's easier for me to show in this model, for the root of the propeller. So if this propeller point, or the root point, is moved some distance, is rotated one complete revolution, the entire section will move some distance forward. So let us say that distance which has moved forward is p, and one revolution is the distance will be taken, can be taken as 2 pi r. So this blue line is tracing the a point in the root of the propeller, and see this blue line has come up, and both the starting and end points, both the starting and end point are in the same line with the root of the propeller. So if I open this one, you see this has made a perfect straight line with 2 pi r as the base, because this was just a complete circle. It was just a complete circle. So that when you will open it, so distance will be 2 pi r. Here radius will be radius of the root, and the distance it has moved forward is called the pitch. So tan theta is defined as p upon 2 pi r. Okay. The pitch you have seen is p is equal to tan theta into 2 pi r. So pitch will keep on increasing from the root to the tip, because the radius will keep on increasing. That's why a propeller has a twisted shape. It is not a flat. Normally, it is not a flat plated like this one. Though in ancient time they used to make like this one, but with the advancement, when they are able to understand in detail, so these are not just made a flat one. It's a continuously twisted from root to top, in order to keep pitch similar. It cannot be same because of various reasons. It to be kept similar. So a propeller in 3 dimension is quite complicated, because each part each element from root to tip has a different twisting angle. That is all because of more other reasons, because angle of attack keep on changing. That will come further in blade element theory. For basics, this is good. So I have made a small video of a model which is kept in our campus. So this will please go through it. So this is a working model in our campus LBS, and this is a 4-bladed propeller, mild skew, as you can see, have a mild skew, have a slight negative rake angle, okay, and uh, these this is the trailing edge, and this is the leading edge. Okay. Okay, so these what I have divided, as you can see, there are multiple lines I have drawn. These are individual blade element. These blade elements we actually normally discuss an entire one single blade is made of infinite number of blade element, and this are at different radius. Let us say this is at 0.3 r, 0.7 r, 0.9 r, and this can be taken as complete 1 r. Okay, and let us talk first about pitch. Normally the pitch, as I have discussed in the earlier video, pitch is the amount of distance a ship travels when a propeller moves in a single revolution. Okay, and tan theta was p upon 2 pi r, that is pitch is a function of theta and radius. So as we go up from the center to the top, the radius keep on increasing, and in order to keep pitch same, you have to keep the angle different for each blade section. That's why you can see, if you can zoom it into the blade, each blade is having a different angle with the plane. This you can see that plate is slightly like a twisted from the base. That is why this propeller blade has such a typical structure, which you can see in the three-dimensional plane. And each blade we will be discussing further in the blade element theory, that each blade is of aerofoil shape. Aerofoil shape is like a shape which is in the aircraft of in the wings of the aircraft. So these each act as an aerofoil, and this causes a lift to generate, which pushes the ship in the forward direction. And remaining I will continue in the next video. Thank you. I hope you got some better understanding about the pitch of the propeller, and now let us come to our next point, which is will define two important things: rake and the skew of the propeller. Rake is when entire these blade sections are tilted forward, sorry, in your perspective it is aft or forward direction. So this is called rake, means if these propeller blades, if these tips and the root are in the same plane, a plane which is perpendicular to the axis of the shaft, and this point and this point are in the same plane, then there is no rake. Rake is means when this entire blades are shifted forward, in aft or sorry aft or forward direction. So if entire 3 blades are, or whatever the number of blades in the propeller, complete propeller, is in the aft direction, then it is called the positive rake, and if it is in the forward direction, it is called negative rake. The reason why rake is given is mainly why the positive rake, which is in the aft direction, is given, because when the hull is passing by like this, and there is a very little gap between the propeller blade tip to the hull, and the gap is very small. This will cause undue vibration into the hull. The propeller tip also creates a vortex of the water, and that vortex needs some breathing air, and it needs the hull. There should be some minimum gap between these two. So blade is tilted in the forward or up direction, then you can also ask then why not to make a smaller blades. The reason is when we are understanding the propeller in terms of blade element theory, each section of the blade is uh, creating a thrust which is eventually passed to the ship. So that thrust, if we just make a propeller small, then definitely the total amount thrust will be reduced. So we have not cut down with the area of the propeller, we have just printed down the angle. Also, in why it is given in the negative direction, normally it is plus 15 degree to minus 5 degree. Normally in a very high speed vessels, ships, the rake is given in the negative direction. It keeps better hold of the ship into the water. Okay, the next point is rake. Rake is a propeller with a sickle shape, like a आपके घर में जो हंसिया होता है उसे कुछ ऐसा ही शेप होता है. अगर इस तरह का शेप अगर प्रॉपेलर में रहता है जो कि इस यूनिफॉर्म प्रॉपेलर ब्लेड से अलग है, तो इसको स्क्यू शेप कहते हैं. ये इसका स्क्यू एंगल 0 है, इसका स्क्यू एंगल कुछ होगा. Let's go through it. ओके, सो ये आपके स्क्यूड प्रोपेलर हैं. अब स्क्यू, हाउ डू वी डिफाइन, फर्स्ट थिंग व्हाई स्क्यू, देन विल कम हाउ डू वी डिफाइन स्क्यू. इस व्हाई do we need to unnecessarily complicate the shape of the propeller when it was quite beautiful like this? The reason for making skew are many. First of all, it balances the pressure distribution over the plate. Then, okay, this is the, again I will explain, this is forward, this is the aft, and I hope you remember when we were discussing about the wake which is coming from the ship. So wakes are because of multiple reasons, and wakes is the forward direction of the velocity of the water along with the ship. So there is a random distribution of wake over the entire spectrum. You cannot say that the wake at this point is the same at this point, at this point, at this point. So when you have uneven distribution of the wake in the entire spectrum, and if you have a blade like this, then one entire blade section will fall into a all of a sudden change wake, and it will cause an undue vibration on this blade along with the boss, and eventually it can be transmitted to the engine and the hull. So when this curved section is passing through a random wake distribution, or then for example you have different wake over here, so this part attacks on this wake first, but this section is over here which is not into a let's say very high wake fraction, so entire blade is not affected. So you are able to save the propeller from undue vibration, and definitely vibration is never good for any running machinery, even for a static machinery. So this uniforms the pressure distributions and saves the propeller from sudden jerk vibration, etc. Okay, so then how do we define the wake angles? Skew angle. Because if we want to classify one propeller blade from another, we need some guideline. How do we define the angle? Can we make such kind of shape? For the basics, you first of all take this projection into your plane. So this will become the projection. Then from center point to the tip you make a straight angle, and Then you try to find a line which is making the largest angle with this line, keeping the tangent on the trailing edge. So somewhere like this. So this angle will be called the skew angle. If the skew angle is large, then it's called highly skewed. If skew angle is small, it's called moderately skewed. If skew angle is zero, then there is no skew. And so based on this skew angle, you can define highly skewed or moderately skewed. Also, skew can be defined as biased skew or unbiased skew. I will just show you through this document. Will Okay, so this is just basic propeller geometry. Rake, I have already defined you. You can make notes out of it. These are very important questions normally. You should know about the definition of the rake and skew. No rake, positive rake. Okay. So as I have explained, uh, I'd like to apologize you. This angle is not made from the trailing edge. It is made from the mid chord line. Mid chord line, which is a chord which is equally dividing the two sections into equal distance. Two sections into equal distance. So you are basically taking the angle from this point to the center of the boss and a line from the center of the boss, which can make the along with the tangent with the midchord line, which can make the highest angle with this line. So I will also show you this PDF format. So this is the angle from the center to the tip, and from the midchord line to a maximum angle which it can draw. The definition is as follows. The propeller skew angle is defined as the greatest angle measured at the shaft center line in the projected plane, which can be drawn between line passing from the shaft center line through the mid-chord position of any two section. Okay, so propeller skew can also be classified into two types: balanced and unbalanced skew. So balance skew, so if you take a directrix, means a line which is perpendicular to the plane, projected plane, and it is only cutting the mid-chord line only once, it is cutting the mid-chord line twice. As you can see, it is cutting at this point and it is cutting at this point. This means it is a balance skew. For example, for this one, which is this is skewed to a heavily skewed to one direction, it is skewed to one direction, and if you draw a line from center to the midchord line, it is only cutting once. So this is called bias skew. So this shape is more biased. It means it is more tilted in one direction, and if you see the weight distribution along this one, the more weight is on this on one sided of the this line directrix of the line which is perpendicular to this plane to in this plane. Here it is cutting in two positions. Okay, so here you you have got a good understanding about skew, rake, and let us come about the in detail structure of an individual blade. What does this aerofoil means in the blade? I will show you. Okay, so this is the propeller blade. From the center line at various distance, you can make small elements of the propeller. In a previous video, you have told you about, let's, you can say this is 0.4 R or 0.5 R, 0.6 R. Each of this section, when studied individually, it gives the idea for the hydrofoil. The hydrofoil or the aerofoil is a similar structure which helps in providing a lift to an aeroplane. So in aerofoil shape, when there is a pressure difference between one side to another, it gives a lift, and this lift is hence helping for an object to either lift in actually in an aircraft, or when you are talking about a blade, it is helpful in providing the thrust. So these individual elements are hydrofoil, which we are going to study in the coming slides. Okay, so this is the top view. Means if you cut this section and view from the top, you will see that kind of aerofoil shape. So this is a typical aerofoil shape, and various markings are very well done over here. 0.10 left hand, I'll come to it. The leading edge, number 2 point is the leading edge. So, and number 7 will be the trailing edge. Then 5 is camber. Okay. What is camber? See, aerofoil shape need not always to be in this particular fashion. It can be uniform. I hope I have this. Like this is quite uniform, or symmetrical shape, or it can be asymmetrical as well. So for propeller blades, we normally draw symmetrical, non-symmetrical blades. So if it is totally symmetrical, then the camber is 0. Camber is somehow camber is the identification which shows you that this is non-symmetrical. Then the chord line. The straight line which is joining the leading edge to the trailing edge is called the chord line. Here chord line is point number. Okay, here it is not mentioned. This straight line is called the chord line, and what is the camber, the upper surface, the trailing edge, the camber mean line. So the center line which is dividing this aerofoil into equal parts is the mean camber line. Okay, the lower surface, maximum thickness. So point, there is definitely a point in the hydrofoil which is of maximum thickness. Okay, in a hydrofoil shape, suppose this is a uniform hydrofoil or aerofoil which is not having any camber, and airflow which is straightway coming from the center. So the flow will be uniform, equally from the top and equally from the bottom. So there will be no lift will be generated. So that line is called the zero lift line. So even if when you make the propeller this blade element, non-symmetrical, so there will always be a line in which if the water flow comes in this direction, this will not create any lift or drag or any other effect. So this water will come from here, pass on like this, and it will not create any lift. So point number 1 is called the zero lift line. Okay. Then, for example, let us say our incident flow or attack angle, or from where the water is coming, is in this this line, this dark black color line. So when this is attacking this one, so there will be flow will be divided. Some will pass from the top, some will pass from the bottom, and because of the, and if you apply Bernoulli's principle, velocity in one section will be more and velocity in the another section will be less. Where the velocity is more, the pressure is less, and where the pressure is velocity is less, pressure is more. So there is a difference in pressure. Hence, a total force is created. So that total force will be created and will be at some angle which we have not shown over here. Let's say this is at this angle. So when we project this force into two direction, one which is into the vertical direction of the incident angle is called the lift, and if it is projected or taken into into the direction of the angle of attack is called the drag. So that drag force will try to uh, drag the blade element, and this lift force will try to lift it. So lift is always in the line perpendicular to the angle of attack. So this is for sure. Okay. Okay, so I hope there was. And what are these figures? CL, CD. See, L is the amount of force, D is the amount of drag force. L is the lift force, and D is the drag force, which is a derivation from the total force which was generated when fluid was passing at an angle of attack. But why do we need to define CL and CD? The reason is this: in naval architecture, most of our designs are on the statics, and so we don't want to carry very large figures, rho v, a v square, and l. So we normally deal with dimensionless coefficient like cl and cd, so that we the and this figure can be directly studied in a very well orderly fashion. So when let's say when you have a hydrofoil and you are testing it, so rather than writing down the entire force value, we are writing the CL value. CL value is L upon half rho AV square. If you take the dimensions of this one, you will find it is a dimensionless coefficient. Or L can be written as CL into half rho AV square. CL is first of all is not a universal coefficient, neither the coefficient of drag. These are not a universal coefficient. It depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the design of the blade element. It depends on the Reynolds number, the Euler's number. So CL, please do not take CL as a universal. So this is defined for a particular set of speed and a particular set of aerofoil shape. So you will meet such kind of figure in whenever when we'll discuss about the rudder as well. The CL and CD will come over there again. Okay. See this now this is another example. You have an velocity of incoming velocity at an particular some angle. F is the total force. L, which is perpendicular to V. D is in line with the V. The CL by CD, CL by CD is defined as 10 gamma. Hmm, I'll come to it. So CL and CD is defined as 10 gamma. This will be very helpful when we are studying about blade element. Okay, this is about the pressure distribution around the aerofoil. I have told you earlier that with increase of velocity, the pressure reduces, and with the decrease of the velocity, the pressure increase. And this is the contour, the reduced pressure contour, or the graph of the reduced pressure, and the graph of the increased pressure. So it is not because the pressure is increased in one direction, lift is generated. It is more because pressure is reduced in another side. Means pressure on the where the velocity is higher is reduced more than the pressure is increased. So anyways, the difference in pressure will always create a lift. So it is not because the pressure is increased more on one side. It is pressure is reduced on one side. The pressure difference is created. Okay, I'm sorry about this one because I think that was not on the screen, and I'm a little new to this one. So I was explaining you about this curve. So area under the reduced pressure curve is far more than the area under the increased pressure curve. So the difference in the pressure lead to the total force. That force is divided into CL and CD. Okay, so this curve is of lift and drag. Lift and drag with the angle of incidence alpha. So as you have seen in the earlier figure, this is angle of alpha. So when you have the no lift angle, the no lift line was there was a no lift. There is a line at which no lift force occurs, and this is happens at the negative angle. Means here we are defining the line joining the chord forward, leading us to the trailing edge. So, angle above it is defined as a negative angle. So, even at see you have a positive CL and CD even at the negative angle of incidence, but at one particular point this CL drops down to 0. So this is CL, there is a no lift force, and this lift force keep on increasing with the angle of attack or angle of incidence. See, angle of incidence and angle of attack, when we are talking about the hydrofoil, it's same. So, but in case when we are talking about the wings of the aircraft, it's different. So here we'll assume that angle of incidence and angle of attack is same. So you see this CL keep on rising, and then at one particular point, this start to go down, and this CD at all angle of attack keep on increasing. So this at this point, this is called angle of stall, because if we increase angle of attack furthermore, then we will have the less lift with increase of angle of attack. So this is very important phenomenon. This will also be covered when we are talking about rudder angle. That why do we limit rudder angle from 35 degree to 35 degree starboard to port, and why not we can keep on increasing as much as we like, because at one particular angle, depending on the shape of the heterofoil, this have a stalling angle at which the lift force start to reduce drastically. See, there is a lift force starts to reduce, and drag force start to increase. Okay, there are many theories why the lift occurs. So each theory has each theory has some positive and negative along with it, but in the end one thing is always sure, that in one side direction the velocity is more and in one direction velocity is less. There is even a see the one theory is this, that the top part have a longer distance and the bottom part have a shorter distance, so it takes, so one has to increase the velocity to meet its counterpart at the other end, is not very correct, because when practically when we see it, that these two particles don't meet each other at this two parts. And there is in another class, if you have it out, I will explain you in more in detail the how it can be explained with the conservation of angular momentum, but let's not go much deep into it. So okay, so overall we have covered a lot of topic in the proper basics. The next I will discuss you about the axial momentum theory and the blade element theory. These another two theories, circulation and lift, will come in later stages. These are very much important. The first three theories, axial momentum and the blade element, axial momentum with rotation, without rotation. So for this class, this is enough. I hope to see you soon again. If you have any doubt, please you can write your questions in the YouTube link or in the Google Chrome, whichever you feel like. And have a happy study. Bye.